Welcome back or welcome anew. My name is Daria. I'm a graphic designer, and today we're going to be talking about branding, its history, theory, and applications for graphic designers. The process of branding is quite complex and sometimes takes designers and design agencies months to develop a single identity. That is why I've broken down these theory sessions into 3 consecutive episodes. And today I'm going to give you a short overview of the history of brand and branding, an introduction into the branding process, as well as the first 2 stages of this process, meaning discovery and positioning. Make yourself a delicious cup of something warm or cold, and let's get into the theory session on branding. So I bet you didn't know, but the notion of branding dates back to the 17th century. It comes from, some sources say Old English, some sources say German word brander, which means to burn, which in itself gave foundations to the act of marking one's ownership of an object with a hot iron, and that object usually used to be livestock, meaning cows. So people literally branded their cows with a hot iron to show other farmers that this is mine, and in case another farmer stole that cow from the other farmer, that would be immediately evident. With the Industrial Revolution and with people creating their own brands and opening new companies, people started using that branding, that kind of burning mark, but not actually burning anything, to diversify their product instead of the livestock from their competitors and other brands. They're showing their customers that this is mine, I created this, you're buying that product from me. And that's basically how we got to the modern notion of a brand, which stands for the customer's overall perception of a product or service built through marketing, reputation, and visual experience. By the way, this mark is the first ever registered trademark. It was registered in the UK by a company of Bass Ale, 1876, which was almost 150 years ago actually. I've image traced it. The quality is not that good, but it's definitely different from what we're used to now in terms of trademarks and logotypes. But yeah, this is where the history started. Since then, this is a little cute number, 14 million. This is the quantity of the trademarks that were registered by 2022, according to the World Intellectual Property Organization, which is actually just an approximation. And who knows how many there are in 2025, meaning now, because this is the data dating back to 3 years ago. Which brings me back to the essence and the importance of the process of branding and how it allows to create those distinct and unique identities for all those 14 million registered trademarks to diversify themselves from their competitors and other companies. For instance, this could have been a simple illustration of an apple until Steve Jobs decided that it's not. Now, when you look at this apple, you don't think about food and apples, you think about phones, laptops, technology, innovation, creativity, maybe even AI, and that's branding in action. More formally, branding is the process of creating a unique brand identity consistent of the brand personality and its character, and communicating its qualities and those personality and character through the visuals to consumers. Branding in the 21st century does not only relate to businesses, products, and services like it used to be. You might have heard of the term personal branding on social media, and exactly because I think of social media, diversity and abundance of social media personas that exists now within that digital space, it becomes essential for all those people to diversify themselves from other people, and branding is exactly what they're using to do that. Because personal branding, meaning branding in relation to people and groups, is its own beast. It's a topic for a different day. We're going to be focusing on product and service today, a traditional type of branding and the process behind it. Branding is a linear, multi-step process where in almost any scenario, one step must be finalized before moving on to the next step. And this is a structure almost every freelance graphic designer or a design agency will be following while working on a branding project. And today we're focusing on defining and establishing the brand essence, which refers to the first 2 stages of the branding process, discovery and positioning. Discovery and position, if not already done by a client, will definitely be performed in collaboration with a client. Kind of executive decisions that go into the discovery and positioning stages require an active participation from the client's side, and a designer is just responding to those decisions. So why do designers need to be aware of the terminology when it comes to discovery and position when they don't really, participate in it? The entire identity of a brand is like a cake, with the visuals and communication channels being the cherries on top, and this discovery and positioning stages being its foundational layers. To be able to build those visuals accurately, designers need to know how to communicate with their client during the discovery stages. And in some cases, when working with a small business, the person, meaning the client, might not be aware of all those terminology and what is it even the discovery stage and how to navigate the positioning, like what am I doing, They might feel lost, and that's when a good designer comes in and assists their client during these stages. And now, when we've realized the inevitability of having to learn branding theory as a designer, let's jump onto the first stage of the branding process, the discovery. After signing a contract with the client and getting their brief, whether it is to design a new brand or to redesign the existing identity, you'll always start with research, often in collaboration with the client, or in some cases, the research will be provided to you by the client. First, when it comes to discovery and doing the research, you identify the current status of a brand, its strengths, weaknesses, strategies in relation to marketing, customer experience, what's working, what's not working. You might go on their Instagram, check out their just socials overall, go through their website. In some cases, for example, you're a UK-based designer and you create for a US brand. But if you have a chance, go and visit the stores, explore the identity, like every single channel that they have, to be able to immerse yourself in their, current process. I'm talking about the rebranding, if there is an existing brand. If it is to create a brand from scratch, they will only have their research and their idea. That's when we move on to the second stage, strategy, meaning what the brand is aiming to achieve. If it's a new brand, this would entail building a whole ethos system from scratch. But if it's a rebrand, the brief would be to attract maybe a new audience of a different age or gender, or create an optimal packaging design for the brand extension onto a new country. Possibilities here are endless, but all these details will define and shape both the visual identity and the personality of the brand that you're building. And then there would be market, consumer, and competitor research that reveal, the current tendencies within the industry where the brand operates. It can be related to sustainability, technology, social media trends, if you're building their marketing strategy, what's working, what's not working. And it's also very important, customer research pillar. You don't want to shove all the most trendy, popular things that are happening in the industry right now to make the brand super successful, because trends are always working. Through that customer research, you want to define the targeted audience of your specific brand, and then based on that targeted audience, you will look into the trends that are interesting for those specific people, because we're not all the same. We love and enjoy different things, and different brands have different people that buy into those brands. So you really need to be aware of who you created that product and service for, what's their interests, what's their lifestyle, and then based on that, you look into the trends that are relevant for that specific audience. And then competitive research will allow you to understand within the industry that the brand operates in, like the brand that you are working for, what strengths can be highlighted for that brand that could help it really stand out from its competition. In most cases, competitor brands have similar targeted audience. So how do you ensure that the targeted audience prefers you as a brand and not those competitors? That's all the merit of the research, being aware of all those things and building a strategy around that knowledge. So now you have the research and the strategy in mind, and it's time to build an identity. Again, similar to the discovery stage, this one is very much developed in a collaboration with the client, like it's constant communication, or in some cases the client might already have positioning ideas in mind. It's still very important for a designer to be aware of each of the brand positioning terms, to be able to communicate those ideas with the client and smoothly navigate the brand identity to build the correct visuals afterwards. In my opinion, IKEA has a very clear brand positioning strategy. So I will be describing each of the terms within the stage and then giving an example from IKEA's positioning statement to make it a bit more clear. First, the brand position identifies what the brand does at its core. Like the simplest way, if somebody were to ask you, what is this brand? And for IKEA, it's home furnishing solutions. As simple as that. It should be very objective, a couple of words, and that's it. That's the brand position. The brand purpose describes why that brand exists beyond the material business reasons, like beyond making money, beyond the profit. IKEA's reason behind its business is to create a better life for many people. This why statement, the reason, guides the entire brand strategy and is the reason millions of people choose IKEA and not other furnishing brands. What makes you special? What makes you stand out? Why should I be choosing you and not other brands? The brand values, there are usually 3 to 5 of those, are kind of the core principles and beliefs that drive the brand's decisions and strategy. IKEA actually has 8 values, but I chose 4 main kind of ones from their list: togetherness, people and planet, cost consciousness, and simplicity. And as you can see, the values are like little puzzles that reinforce that brand purpose and position, making them a bit more unique to this brand. To create a better everyday life for the many people is the purpose, right? So they care about the society, about, creating something for the people, so togetherness, and also caring for people and planet, because they're talking about like sustainability and how they make their products, because their furniture is not just furniture, but it's sustainable, it's for people and planet. Then we have cost consciousness. A lot of furnishing brands are very expensive, but IKEA is affordable, which allows them create life for the many people because more people can afford their furniture. And then simplicity. It allows, again, to target bigger audiences and create better everyday life, make it easier for as many people as possible. The vision is a forward-looking statement that describes what a company aspires to be in the future. The vision is usually purpose-driven, as I would say everything within the brand positioning strategy. IKEA's vision is to make a positive difference in people's life, almost, I would say, synonymous with its purpose. In this scenario, it's a bit hard to distinguish between these 2 terms on this example. That's why I think Patagonia, I decided to add another example here, a brand of outdoor clothing and gear, has a better distinction between their purpose and the vision. Patagonia exists to save our home planet. That's their purpose. Their audacious vision is the Earth, the planet, where all life is not threatened with extinction. They're still connected, but a bit more distinct in terms of the timeline, because the purpose is like the current statement, like why are they in business? And then the vision is they envision this planet where everyone is safe, the nature is not threatened by extinction, their environment is in good condition. So their why is still connected to that bigger goal, but that bigger goal, the vision, is still kind of futuristic. I hope this makes sense. And finally, the mission is a statement in relation to a brand's current set of goals and actions that will be taken in order to achieve that vision and reinforce the purpose. The mission statement is usually a bit longer than other positioning statements in terms of like it has more words. Going back to IKEA, as you can see, it's a bit like lengthier. IKEA aims to offer a wide range of well-designed functional home furnishing products at prices so low that as many people as possible would be able to afford them. Again, as you can see, it's all interconnected with the purpose, with the values, with the vision. The mission statement kind of encompasses all of those pillars of the brand positioning strategy and delivers them in kind of a very concise and objective statement. But I would say still the most important one that you should start with when building a brand is the purpose. That reason, that why will guide the entire identity, including the visual identity, including the personality, including the character. Every single decision when it comes to a brand, it's rooted into that why, into that purpose, which makes it so important and valuable. And that, my friends, concludes today's episode of the branding process theory. In the next video, we're going to be discussing the process of building a brand personality. In my own practice, it's kind of a transitional stage between those positioning and discovery stages and actually building the brand expression and communication channels, which we're going to be talking about in the final and the third episode of this series. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Subscribe to not miss the next episodes, and I hope to see you in the next one.